Ukraine launched extensive long-range drone attacks against targets in Russia over the weekend, just hours after Vladimir Putin rejected Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's offer to meet. A Russian official called the Ukrainian strike the second of its kind in recent days, unprecedented, saying that more than 140 drones were shot down, while the governor of St. Petersburg urged residents to shelter indoors. Ukraine showing it can strike deeper and deeper within Russia, seemingly at will. Joining us now, the former president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko. Mr. President, thank you for joining us again this morning. We really appreciate it. Let's just start here. It does seem like a really pivotal moment in this conflict. With the help of its drone technologies, your nation, Ukraine, has really reversed momentum in this conflict, not only halted Russian advances, but seemingly driving them back and striking at Putin's backyard.
First of all, thank you very much indeed for the invitation and keeping Ukraine very high in your agenda. Secondly, with your permission, allow me, this is not a conflict. This is the full-scale, disastrous, aggressive war. And maybe the most important war in the world. And Ukraine paid the highest price for that. For the present moment, I can tell you that we have a very narrow but extremely important window of opportunities. Our goal in this war is peace, not endless war. And you cannot find any other nation in the world who wants peace more than we Ukrainians. But now we have more instrument to enforce Putin to the peace. And with that situation, when St. Petersburg has 140 attack drones from Ukrainian side, can you imagine that every night we have up to 1,000 drones? And what is the evidence of Ukrainian drone attack? That Russia do not have an air defense against Ukrainian drones. And that means that we have another absolutely different type of diplomacy, changer of diplomacy, game changer. And the name of this diplomacy is drone diplomacy. And the armed forces of Ukraine is definitely the best diplomat in the world. And Putin cannot ignore anymore the Ukrainian insistence. And Russia must understand that aggression against Ukraine has its own price. And every single day, every single week, price would be higher, undoubtedly. And that's why in the Putin interest, in Russia interest, is to use this window of opportunity and to reach very important thing. Without any peace deal, without any 28 points of anchorage or something like that. Extremely important, unconditional, comprehensive ceasefire. Immediately stop the war, pause the conflict, stop killing Ukrainians, sit at the table of negotiation with the participation of the United States, with the participation of European Union, because nothing about Europe without Europe, but at the same time, nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine.
Thank you, President Poroshenko. This is David Rowe. I'm a national security reporter here at MS Now. I want to ask you specifically about President Trump in the United States. What is your message to President Trump? What is the one thing you would like him to do now that you think could end this war?
First of all, everybody should understand that support of Ukraine is not a charity, is not the assistance for Ukraine. Support of Ukraine means investment in the global security. And with that situation, it's simply impossible to build up sustainable security situation in the continent of Europe and in the world without stopping Ukrainian war. And role of the United States, and we are very much appreciate bipartisan, I stress once again, bipartisan support and full coordination between White House and the Congress. And with this situation, to stop the war would be, I can call, the noble mission of the President Trump. I know what I'm talking about. I worked with the President Trump during his first term more than 3 years. And we delivered a lot of unprecedented and very important positions, starting with a sanction against Russian energy project and finishing with the first lethal weapons we, Ukrainian, me as a Ukrainian president, received. Now is a high time to deliver long-range missile, to deliver missile for Patriot and air defense, to deliver the powerful military assistance. And why it's necessary to do so? Because security of the world is decided here on Ukrainian land. And we have no any other way out how to stop the war. If not, Putin should have no illusion. It would be new weapons supply, it would be new sanction, new financial assistance, and disastrous results and responsibility for Putin if he rejected very simple things. Ceasefire. It is exactly what I do in the year 2014, 2015 to stop the war. Ceasefire under Minsk agreement. And then we solve everything to help out, to build up Ukrainian armed forces, to build up Ukrainian economy, and to build up security in Europe.
Mr. President, you've argued that this is an important moment, a window to peace. What are you concerned about if this moment passes and the opportunity is not taken by Vladimir Putin?
That simply would be the biggest mistake of Putin. Now, you should understand, if in year 2023, in year 2024, time is playing on the Russian side, now not anymore. Every single month, Putin pay higher and higher price. He started to suspend, and I wanted to assure you, Ukraine never will surrender. This is no chance. And with that situation, the sooner Putin starts to understand that, the sooner Putin goes for the scenario ceasefire. Ceasefire is not just finish the war. Ceasefire is just stop killing people. Sit on the table. And having on this table American and European, and save Russia, not stop the war, not make some assistance for Ukraine, save Russia, because Russia absolutely, definitely cannot survive if war would be continue considerably long. And the only thing for that we need just to keep our unity, to keep transatlantic unity, to keep European unity. And I really hope that Trump will support this call, this ceasefire, because this is definitely in the interest of the global leadership of the United States.
Former President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko. Mr. President, thank you for joining us this morning.